As we know, the breath and oxygen is such an important part of our whole body health and our physiology. In fact, I've gone so far to claim that oxygen is our most important nutrient because we can only live for about 6 minutes without this important nutrient. So arguably, it is our most important nutrient. What is interesting is that we can control the amount of oxygen that enters our bloodstream using our breath. As it turns out, there's quite a bit of science behind how we can use our breath to not only guide our heart rate variability, but also to control our vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve is the rest and digest, the calm all systems of our 12 cranial nerves. So let's take a look at how it is that we breathe. We have different muscles that help to bring oxygen into our body and expel carbon dioxide. We tend to breathe, at least the majority of us, using what is known as our accessory muscles. And these are little intercostal muscles that line our rib cage. They are like delicate feathers. And we also have muscles like our scalene muscles and our sternocleidomastoid in our neck that are attached to the top of our rib cage. These expand our chest, but not very effectively. Much more effective is the large diaphragmatic muscle that lives at the bottom of our ribs, and as this large muscle expands, it works like a bellows, decreasing the pressure in our chest cavity and allowing us to inhale a large breath of atmospheric air. And what this does is it opens up all of the airways and allows for easier transference of oxygen and carbon dioxide across the capillaries in our lungs. What's interesting is that this relationship between breathing and health has been studied and known for approximately 60 years, and it always amazes me why mainstream medicine doesn't pay more heed or more attention to this important part of our physiology. It was noticed in the late 50s and early 60s in obstetrics with the advent of ultrasound that as a fetus lost what is known as heart rate variability, they were seeing less good outcomes. And even though mainstream medicine across the board doesn't use heart rate variability to make an assessment of our health, it turns out that every baby that's born in the developed world uses this technology to follow the baby's health during labor. Because what happens is as our heart rate variability decreases, it demonstrates that our physiology is being subjected to more stress. This might be a period of starvation. It might be infection, inflammation, or even emotional stress. What's cool is that we can control this and override this tendency to take shallow breaths. So when we are nervous, when we are scared, we tend to breathe with our accessory muscles. These are short, shallow little breaths that look like this. This keeps us breathing, but doesn't allow us to fully expand our chest cavity. When we use our diaphragm, allowing our belly to come out, really opening up our chest, and inhaling and exhaling fully, we open up all these passageways and optimize the delivery of this important nutrient to our body. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about heart rate variability because this is a measurement which for 60 years has been used to demonstrate the health of the human animal. So what happens is heart rate variability basically refers to the amount of variability around a mean heart rate. So if one's body were a metronome, for example, and recall this is one of the machines that helps us to ensure that our piano playing or our guitar playing is on beat. If one were to set a metronome at 60 beats per minute, in particular an electronic one, every 1,000 milliseconds you would get a beat. So in 60 seconds you would have 60 beats. Now, if this was a heart rate, this would be very low heart rate variability. There's not a lot of variability around that mean. Conversely, you could take the same 60 beats per minute and between beats 1 and 2 have a 1,000 millisecond interval, exactly 1 second. But between the next two intervals, you might have 0.8 seconds. And in the third one, maybe 1.2 seconds. At the end of 3 seconds, you've still had 3 beats, but there's variability around that mean. So what we've learned is that having a heart that beats like a metronome is not healthy. And this is clearly exemplified in this short graphic. On the left-hand side, we see somebody who is breathing using only their accessory muscles. And you can see that there is limited variability around the baseline heart rate. However, when this individual begins to take more deep and expansive breaths, the heart rate variability, and thus their ability to oxygenate, their ability to get rid of carbon dioxide, our primary toxin, and just to drive their vagus nerve function, all increases. This is good science, folks, that shows that you can actually control the health of your biology and your physiology with nothing more than your breath. The first step is to simply be aware of how you are breathing. So many of us unconsciously breathe using our intercostals, these little delicate muscles around our ribs, our scalenes, and our sternocleidomastoid to have little, barely effective excursions of our chest. That said, when we take a deep, expansive breath, one that probably takes about 5 seconds of inhalation and even longer exhaling, we have fully allowed our chest cavity to open and close, optimizing the transfer of this important nutrient. All of this stuff is in the science, and you can learn how to improve your breathing with some basic practices, and I will go over those in another video. All right, guys, take care, and we will see you shortly.